In the golden glow of dawn that spilled across the sprawling estate of the wealthy entrepreneur Richard Morland, the world seemed peaceful, almost dreamlike, yet beneath the polished marble floors and velvet curtains of the mansion, tension quietly brewed, as if destiny itself was waiting for a storm to break. Richard had built his empire from scratch, a man known for his relentless drive and extraordinary vision, but behind all the flashing cameras and magazine covers that hailed him as a self-made millionaire, there was a tender truth: his heart belonged to two women in very different ways. One was his mother, a graceful woman named Eleanor who had carried him through poverty, sacrifice, and unimaginable struggles until he could finally stand tall as a man of success. The other was his girlfriend, a radiant young woman named Clara, whose beauty, charm, and mysterious air had captivated not only Richard's heart but also much of the social circle he moved in. Clara was a hairstylist by profession, but not just any hairstylist. Her artistry with scissors and imagination with styles had earned her admiration among celebrities, influencers, and wealthy clients who would pay fortunes for a session with her. Yet, within the opulence of Richard's life, what seemed like a perfect love story began to twist into something darker, for Clara's obsession with hair was not merely professional, it was personal, intense, and sometimes uncontrollable. Eleanor had first noticed it on a quiet Sunday afternoon when she walked into the guest salon of the mansion to find Clara humming to herself while trimming the hair of one of the maids. At first Eleanor smiled, thinking it was harmless kindness, but her heart sank when she saw the look in Clara's eyes, not joy, not service, but something wild, almost feverish, as each lock of hair fell to the ground. The maid sat nervously, as though afraid to protest, while Clara worked with an intensity that didn't match the situation. That evening, Eleanor pulled Richard aside and told him, "Son, be careful with this girl. There is something in her I do not understand, and it frightens me." Richard had laughed gently, brushing his mother's concern away, promising her that Clara's passion for hair was nothing more than an extension of her profession. "She's an artist, mother," he said warmly, "and artists often appear obsessed, but it's only because they care so much about their craft." But Eleanor's motherly instinct whispered otherwise, though she chose silence, not wanting to create division between herself and the woman her son loved. Weeks passed, and Clara's influence in the house grew stronger. She was not rude nor overtly cruel, yet she carried herself with an air that demanded silent submission. Soon, the maids, gardeners, and even the chef whispered quietly in the corners about her, telling tales of how she would invite them to her little makeshift salon under the pretense of offering free haircuts, only to cut far more than they wished, leaving them embarrassed, shaken, and strangely humiliated. Some servants had begged Eleanor to intervene, for they feared Clara's scissors as if they were weapons. Eleanor, burdened with concern, finally confronted Clara one evening, while the young woman was trimming her own reflection's hair in the gilded mirror of Richard's study. "Clara," Eleanor said gently but firmly, "I beg you, stop cutting the hair of those who do not wish it. You must understand, a person's hair is their dignity, their identity. You cannot take that from them." Clara turned slowly, her eyes glinting in the dim light, her smile sharp and unsettling. "But Eleanor," she whispered, "hair grows back. What is the harm in giving people beauty they cannot see for themselves?" Eleanor shivered, sensing something deeper, a shadow that lurked beneath Clara's soft voice. That night, when Richard returned late from a business meeting, his mother tried once more to share her fears. "Son, she is not well. I see it in her eyes, in the way she handles those scissors. Please, before something terrible happens, speak to her." Richard sighed, exhausted, and kissed his mother's forehead. "You worry too much," he said. "Clara is passionate, yes, but she loves me, and I love her. Trust me." Eleanor, however, could not rest. It was a week later when everything escalated beyond her worst fears. One stormy afternoon, thunder rolling across the horizon, Eleanor heard faint sobs echoing down the marble hallway. Following the sound, she stumbled upon Clara in the servants' quarters, forcing one of the younger maids to sit in a chair while Clara's scissors moved with frightening speed. The maid cried softly, pleading, "Please miss, no more, please," but Clara's humming drowned out the desperate words. Eleanor's heart raced, and she rushed forward, grabbing Clara's wrist. "Stop," she cried. "Please, I beg you, stop this madness." For a moment, the room froze, Clara's hand trembling, the maid gasping in relief, Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. But Clara pulled free and snapped coldly, "Stay out of this, old woman. You do not understand art. You do not understand me." Eleanor fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face, her voice breaking with a desperation only a mother could feel. "I beg you, for the love of my son, stop this. Do not destroy the trust, the peace of this home. Please, Clara, I beg you." The words echoed like thunder, shaking the walls of that quiet room. At that very moment, Richard, who had returned earlier than expected, entered the scene, his eyes widening in shock as he witnessed his mother on her knees, his girlfriend looming over her with scissors flashing in her hand, and the maid trembling, half-shorn, her dignity lying in piles of hair on the floor. Richard's world seemed to crumble in an instant. He froze, unable to comprehend the scene before him, the woman he loved now a stranger, his mother's tears a haunting plea he could not ignore. And so began the storm that would tear through his heart, the beginning of a revelation he never imagined, a test of love, loyalty, and truth that would change his life forever.